Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and today we've got a summer book haul. I almost don't even want to count all of the books that I have to talk about because it's a lot. I have definitely been turning to some retail therapy in managing my emotions re-pandemic, so that's just where we're at. And I haven't done a haul since probably, I think my last one was in April, and I don't do hauls very often. Mostly because I buy books here and there, like 1, 2, 3 at a time for the most part. Sometimes I buy in bulk, I guess, but for the most part I'm just getting them a couple at a time, so it doesn't usually make sense to do like a full haul, and I don't really like doing monthly haul. I just don't do it. But I did acquire quite a few good books over the last several months. So I think this is mostly books that I've purchased June through August, so it's, oh, is it really only 3 months worth? It might be May through August. I don't know. We got a lot of books to talk about. So I'm gonna break them up into sort of categories, more or less. The first is gonna be the books that I have already read and I have mentioned in various wrap-ups or whatever. And we'll also talk about the anti-racism books that I purchased following the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement and protests relating to the unjust killings of Black folks, particularly in the US. So I bought a good stack of those. And then I have been frequenting my local Books A Million, which is basically like Barnes & Noble, and they have some really good deals, and they've been having a lot of like buy two, get one free deals, and also they usually have some pretty good discounted books and used books, so yeah. And then I've also gotten some books from friends. I also have a decent amount of Book of the Month books, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then just like various books that I got and am excited about. Also, I got my flu shot today, so I can't really lift my arm very far, but get your flu shot if you can, because you're not going to want to get the flu this winter. I don't want you to get the flu this winter. So anyway, enough rambling. Let's first dive into the, how many finger guns can I do? Let's dive into the books that I have already read. So first up we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a sort of like closed circuit, closed loop, I forget what the like actual trope is called, murder mystery, where everybody is on an island for a wedding and someone is murdered, and we are sort of flashing back to the day before and experiencing the events of like the weekend through various folks' eyes, and trying to figure out not only who the murderer is but also who the victim is. I read this, I believe, in May? June? I don't remember. I will link my review down below. I thought it was okay. It wasn't my favorite murder mystery. There was like just one too many twists, I think, for my personal taste, but I would definitely check out more from Lucy Foley in the future. I think she has another similar like Everyone's a Suspect sort of story, so I would definitely check that out because I do really like those. I then have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I read this in June and absolutely adored it. This is the story of two sisters who grew up in an all-black southern town where they really value being light-skinned, and there's a lot of colorism against darker-skinned black folks. And they move out of their hometown and kind of part ways. One of them ends up marrying a very dark-skinned black man and moving back to her hometown with her daughter, who is very dark-skinned. The other twin goes off with a white man and passes as white for the rest of her life. So both of them are very light-skinned, and it just is like a very interesting look at race and colorism in the US, and it follows both of their daughters as well, who obviously live very different lives, and I just loved every minute of it. Highly recommend. It's been getting a lot of buzz, a lot of hype, and I think it is so worth it. I think also in June, maybe July, I don't really remember, I read Slay by Brittany Morris. This is one of the books that I picked up for the Blackout bestseller list a week or whatever it was, where everyone was encouraged to buy books by Black authors, and I'm so happy I picked this up. This one I also really enjoyed. This is a story of our main character, Kira, and she is 17 years old. She's a senior in high school, and she is obsessed with this game called Slay, which is a like multiplayer role-playing online game I'm not a gamer, so my jargon is always a little iffy, but she is obsessed with this game. It honors and features Black culture and Black history from around the world, and nobody knows, but she is the creator and the coder behind the game. And everything sort of starts to unravel when a young man is murdered over a dispute in the game, and people start questioning just a lot to go along with it. So that's kind of the basis of the story. It's so well done. I really enjoyed it and would highly recommend. And then finally, one that I just finished reading like 2 days ago is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the second book in the Poppy War trilogy, and I loved it. No one's surprised. This follows the events of the Poppy War, so I won't talk too much about it because spoilers, but this is a military war fantasy story inspired by Chinese history, and it is dark and gritty and really heavy, and there are many important trigger warnings to be aware of. I will link down below some places that you can find those trigger warnings. I won't try to list them all here because there are a lot, but I know that it's really important to highlight them. And I would say trigger warnings pretty much continue for this book. Some of it is even more graphic, while some of it is a little bit less. But it is a military fantasy, so yeah. I loved this. I don't think I loved it quite as much as the Poppy War, but if I've already posted my August wrap-up at the time that I put this up, I will link that down below as well. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. Okay, so those are all the books that I've read. Actually, there's another one that I have read, and that is White Rage by Carol Anderson. I actually think I have maybe like one section left and then like the afterword or something, and this is just taking me quite some time to get into, or not get into, get through, because it is pretty dense. It's really, it reads like a history textbook. Like, it really details a lot of different examples of racism and injustice and white rage in particularly the US, but it really is a lot about like court cases, etc., from the history of the US. It's an incredibly important book. I don't know that this is the one I should have started with, just as someone who doesn't read a lot of nonfiction. This has been a lot. It's been, like I said, it's taken me months to get through. I bought this in June, and it's just, yeah, it's important, but it is really, it's a textbook, just know that going in, but I will talk about it in a wrap-up soon. And then I ended up buying several throughout the course of June and July, other anti-racism books, and most of them I didn't get until recently, just because so many places were back ordered, and I ended up placing an order at Mahogany Books, which is a Black owned bookstore in Chicago, and they got like super inundated with orders, so it did take like 2 months for me to get the books, so I obviously haven't touched those yet. I do have two as well that I picked up for book clubs. One is So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo, and this is, I think, like just kind of guiding conversations about race in different contexts. And then I also have Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad. I bought this for a book club that was happening in June. Someone that I follow on Instagram was hosting it, and I didn't get it in time, unfortunately. This, again, was one that was a little bit back ordered, but this one is really cool because it does have like personal reflection questions throughout the book, and I feel like even though I wasn't able to participate in the book club that I wanted to, it's going to definitely give me a lot of time to reflect and just get that deeper, I guess, interaction with the book. So I'm really excited to dive into this now that I have it. And then I also have I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This is one of her memoirs. I read Mom and Me and Mom by Maya Angelou a couple of years ago, and it was incredible. This is one that I have never read. It's never been on any like reading list. I know often it's like required text for high schoolers or college students, and a lot of people have already read it. I have not, so I picked this one up, as well as How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. This, I think, is going to be like one of the next ones that I pick up, either this or Me and White Supremacy, because I think both of them are giving a little bit more of that like active reading aspect that I am looking for at this point. I obviously have heard incredible things about this. I've heard incredible things about Ibram X. Kendi in general, so I'm really happy to have this. I know this one was like super back ordered. And then the final one that I have is White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. I have heard sort of like mixed things about this one since ordering it, but I'm still curious. It's not top of my list, but I think, you know, white people talking to each other about things like this is really important, so I'm trying to keep that in mind as I put this on my shelves. And then finally, I subscribed to the Feminist book box. I think it's Feminist Book Club, but it's a book subscription service where you can sign up to get either a box of bookish goodies and a book every month, or you can sign up just to have the book, and they have like an online discussion every month. They have multiple options for Zoom discussions. They also have a Slack channel, which is like Discord, where you can discuss throughout the month, and they're just a really cool business. They are a queer woman-owned business in Minneapolis and just like doing cool shit. So I signed up for their service, and the first book I got was Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mikki Kendall. I have heard incredible things about this one, and that it's just like perfection. So I was really excited that this was a pick for, I think it was the pick for August. Yeah, because I got it just a couple weeks ago, and yeah, can't wait to work this into a TBR sometime very soon. Let's kind of stay on that theme. So like I mentioned, I bought Slay for the Blackout bestseller list week, and then the other two books that I purchased were A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow, which is a siren story about two young black women, I believe, who are sirens. I don't know, I haven't totally like grasped the concept of this yet. I feel like I hear so many different things about it. Adam actually read it. He suggested that we get this one, which was pretty cool. I feel like this is not really his type of book, but he heard the author talking about it on NPR and said it just sounded fantastic, so I'm all about having him read more YA fantasy, contemporary, but he said it was really good, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. I've heard really good things about it. And then I got The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which is the start of a new series, I believe, where like cities have souls, and it's kind of like exploring the different souls of the boroughs of New York City. And yeah, I've heard really good things about it. Adam, again, has read this one as well and really liked it, and I just am obsessed with N.K. Jemisin and need to read everything she's ever written. So obviously we got this one. I'm like so annoyed that I haven't read it yet, but soon, my friends. A book that doesn't really fit into any other category is You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. I mentioned this in my September TBR. I will be reading this for Latinxathon, and this is a romance between two telenovela stars. It just sounds really cute and lovely, and I feel like I'm gonna really love it. Sounds like there could be some drama involved and just a lot of good times. So Jocelyn recommended this to me, and I have a feeling I'm really gonna love it. I was also sent a couple of books. I got my first like email like asking if I wanted books, wanted to receive like copies of books, and I was like, heck yeah, this is a series that I've always been really curious about. It's the Once Upon a Con series, which is like retellings of fairy tales, like classic stories that are set in our modern day. So I was sent by Quirk Books, The Princess and the Fangirl, and Bookish and the Beast, both by Ashley Poston. I'm really excited to get to these. I think you can read them as standalones, but I'm not totally certain. I did also pick up a copy of Geekerella, which is the first book. Like I said, I don't think you need to read them in order in particular, but these just sound like they're gonna be really fun and just like cute, lighthearted reads, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what all the buzz is about, because I've heard a lot about them throughout the years, and I've always been curious and just have never gotten around to them, but now I can. Let's talk about some books that I got from my friends. I've had a couple friends posting about how they're getting rid of books, and like posting on Instagram like books they've already read and would like to pass along. So naturally, anytime I see that, I'm like, yes please. The first one I truly don't really know anything about. One of my friends from college said that I might like this. I have never heard anything about it. It's Dear Fang with Love by Rufi Thorpe, and I know nothing about it. It's got a pretty cover. You can see it. I feel like it's really washed out. That's kind of all I have. So I think it's contemporary, maybe a mystery. I don't know. I then, from another friend, got 2 books. The first is Circe by Madeline Miller. This is a retelling of the Odyssey, and just talking more about the witch Circe, who is mentioned throughout the Odyssey but doesn't get a lot of like individual time spent on her story. So Madeline Miller is known for her sort of retellings of classic myths, and I've heard only incredible things about this. I have read her debut, The Song of Achilles, and I liked it. I didn't love it as much as other people did, but I think I will like this one more. And then the other book that I got from her was A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende, who is a Chilean author. Her books are written initially in Spanish and then translated into English. From my understanding, she's written a ton of books. I've heard incredible things. There's like a prompt on the Reading Women Challenge for 2020 to read a book by her. So when I saw that was on my friend's list, I was like, yep, I would like to read that as well. I might try to fit this in for Latinx-a-thon as well. This is a translated book, so it could work for that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Book of the Month. So I know there was a little bit of, I guess, like critique of the Book of the Month service. They definitely had some issues in just how they were interacting with folks on their social media platform, and just how they were kind of responding to valid critique of their typical selection of books, which is usually very white and just kind of, I don't know, not a lot of diversity represented on the like 5 books every month that they select as options. However, at that time, I still had some credits to use and I didn't want to lose out on them. I had been gifted credits for my birthday from actually a couple of people. And so I decided to like only use the credits for books by authors of color moving forward. And I have to say, in the last couple of months, especially the September books, there have been way more authors of color represented. Like in September alone, there were 2 Indigenous authors, an Asian author, a Black author, and I want to say there were a couple more. They actually extended their list. They had, I think, 9 books available to select from, and most of them were authors of color, which was really cool. I think they initially had like their 5 selected and then realized that they didn't have enough diversity included, and so they reached out to more authors and had them on the like top 5 list, which I just think is amazing. I'm still using up some of my credits. Before I made it my goal to be only selecting books that they put up by authors of color, I did pick up Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This is a romance set at a Renaissance fair. I have heard that this is super cute. My friend Carrie from Carrie the Book Bell really loved this and had like only glowing things to say about it. So I picked this up a couple of months ago. I think it ended up being an add-on, but I don't really remember for sure. And then again, once I decided I was going to really be intentional about the books that I was selecting, I started only selecting books from marginalized voices. So I have The Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Junauda Petrus. This is a contemporary about a young woman named Audrey, and she has grown up in Trinidad, and is sent to live with her father in America after she's discovered with a secret girlfriend. And then she meets in Minneapolis Mabel, and I think they have a little romance between the 2 of them, and I've heard it's really sweet. I've only heard a couple people talk about it, but I have a feeling I'm really gonna love this. I also have Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a like haunted house horror story, I believe, and my friend Jocelyn from Yogi with a Book adores Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and I have not read anything from her yet, and I feel bad about it, but this I have plans to read sometime in 2021. I know I'm putting it off, sorry Jocelyn, but it's for a good reason. I then have The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi, and I picked this up on the recommendation of Jessie from Bowties and Books. They absolutely adore Emezi as an author, and I've only heard them say really great things about all of their works. This one I think is maybe sort of fantastical. I don't know for sure, or maybe it's more historical fiction, but I've heard it's very moving and I'm really excited about it. I'm obsessed with the cover, so I was sold. And then finally I have The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This is I think this is fantasy. Yeah, it says something about how he was gifted with this mysterious power. The main character, he was born into bondage and his mother was sold away, but he was gifted with a mysterious power. So I feel like Ta-Nehisi Coates at this point is just like such a household name and known for just like incredible writing. And yeah, I don't know much more about it, but it sounds fantastical and really thought-provoking, so I'm here for it. Okay, let's talk about all the bargain books that I have gotten from Books A Million lately, because it's not too far away from where we live, and anytime I'm just feeling like a little bummed out, I go and browse their selection. So what can I say? I'm not going to go in any particular order here. I'm just going to kind of pick them up as they're sitting next to me. First I have The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. This is, I believe, the third book in this sort of like series. I don't know if it's got a series title. They're all just kind of like loosely connected. I've really loved the first two books, which were The Wedding Date and The Proposal. And then I think this one is about, yes, this is about like the wedding of an earlier couple, I believe, and sort of a rivals, enemies to lovers situation. Like I said, have really enjoyed all of these books, so I feel like I'm really gonna like this one as well. I have Hold Still by Nina LaCour, which is a short little contemporary story about a woman, or a young woman named Caitlin, whose best friend dies by suicide, and she is like really thrown by this and just is like trying to grapple with a world without her best friend. And I have heard it's just like sad and hard to read, but important and amazing. And I read We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, and her writing is just like impeccable, and her stories are often very queer as well. So I don't know if this one is, but I have a feeling it might be. Speaking of queer, I have Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nyan. This is the sequel to Girls of Paper and Fire, also by Natasha Nyan, obviously. I read this one 2 years ago at this point, maybe. I don't think I read it last year. I think it was before that, and really enjoyed it. I don't really know much about the sequel. I feel like I've heard kind of mixed things, so I'm a little nervous, but it's a fantasy story set in a world that has like 3 different types of people, I guess. You have the paper caste, which are just humans. You have the demon caste. I feel like there's a like caste in between paper and demon, and they're like half demon. I don't remember. It's been so long since I read that one. I feel like I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember the romance. So Lei, our main character, is selected to be a paper girl for the Demon King. Essentially, she is a concubine, forced into relations with the king, and she falls in love with one of the other paper girls, and it's the best romance. I loved it so much. I have a feeling I'm really gonna like this, but again, I have heard sort of mixed things, so I'm a little nervous. But I found it for like $3 at Books A Million, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I also bought a copy for my sister as well. She hasn't read the first one, but I want her to, and so I was hoping this would encourage her to pick up both of them. Next, I have The Dark Vault by Victoria Schwab. This is a bind-up of the Archived and the Unbound. So this is a duology. I think this is V.E. Schwab's first duology that she ever wrote, and I'm on a mission to read everything by Victoria Schwab because I love her and her writing. So I know that Lily from Lily Eleanor Reads really loved this duology, and it's her favorite thing from V.E. Schwab. So that is definitely a bonus for me. Like I said, love her series. Shades of Magic is one of my all-time faves. So I wanted to read one of her earlier works. I honestly haven't read a lot of her other stuff, and I feel a little bad about it. So I'm hoping that this one I can get to pretty soon. It is really intimidating to look at the bind-up. It's really heavy, but each of them are only about, let's see. Yeah, the first one is 320 pages, so like not that bad. And then I have Always Never Yours by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegmund Broca. This is a contemporary romance written by I believe at the time they were engaged, and they are now a married couple. And I think this one is about a high school that's doing Romeo and Juliet as a play, and characters fall in love. I don't know. Madeline from Novel Inc. raves about this author or duo a lot, and I just have a feeling I'm really, really gonna love it. It sounds like their books are right up my alley, so I'm hoping to get to this one very soon because I think it's gonna be a 5-star read for me. Next, I have a nonfiction, which is Code Girls, The Untold Story of the American Women Code Breakers of World War II by Liza Mundy. This is a book that I actually heard about from Adam's uncle. He was reading it last summer. We were sort of like living with him for the summer, and it's basically about the women who cracked codes during World War II, which is exactly what it says in the subtitle. And it just like talks a lot about like their anonymity and just like how they weren't really praised the way that they should have been, and gives them kind of the voices and the praise and recognition that they deserve. All about reading more about women in STEM, because women are doing a lot and often not getting credit. The next one I have is Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. This is a middle grade, the start of a middle grade series by the author who wrote The Bear and the Nightingale, which admittedly I didn't love. I've only read the first book in that series, but this one, it seems a little bit spooky, and it starts with two kids going on an adventure in the woods, which is terrifying to me. So I feel like despite being middle grade and written for children, I think this is going to scare me, but I would like to read it in October if I can fit it in. So we'll see. I don't read a lot of middle grade, so I'm always a little hesitant, but I think that this will be a good place to kind of experiment a little bit more with getting more middle grade on my TBR. I then have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is the start of the Ember in the Ashes series, which currently has 3 books out, but I think it's going to have more. This is just one that I've heard so many people talk about. I just like heard people talk about and just seen on like favorites lists for a lot of people, and I just think I'm really gonna love it. I think it's basically about a young woman who is sort of coerced into spying against the like empire and the like military regime. She herself is a slave. Yeah, I don't really know what to expect, but like I said, have heard incredible things, and now that like more books are coming out, I'm really, yeah, intrigued. Oh, it's dual perspective between Elias and Leia. I think this is gonna be a series that I could really, really love. Okay, and then the last 2 I actually bought today because I was just having a day, feeling a little overwhelmed, feeling a little anxious, and then I had a doctor's appointment, which going to the doctors in a pandemic, yeah, doesn't do much for anxiety. So I just, after that, needed something to lift my spirits, and Books A Million is right by my doctor's office. So I picked up Swing Time by Zadie Smith, which is about 2 young women, 2 young black women who dream of being dancers, and has a lot to do with friendship and culture, dance. I think it takes place in London and West Africa. So I've heard really good things about Zadie Smith in general. Found a used copy, and yeah, I would like to read this at some point. Adam's best friend from high school does a book club, and this was one of the picks, and I didn't have it in time to read it, but I know that he has read it and discussed it previously, so I'd love to talk to him about it at some point. And then I have Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle. Honestly, I don't really know anything about this, but I'm like kind of obsessed with Glennon Doyle. I think she's hilarious, and I just like, I don't know, I like the way she shares her ideas, at least on Instagram, and she just seems like a gem of a person, so I picked this up. I also have her other book, Untamed, on audio, and I would like to listen to her read that one because it is like very much a personal memoir. Whereas this one I feel like is like a little bit more self-helpy, or like it's a lot about her marriage, and I think the kind of, but like the end of her marriage, when she finds out that her husband of like 13 years was cheating on her. She's now married to soccer star Abby Wambach, and their interactions on Instagram are just like a joy. So yeah, I just saw this in the bargain section. It was $5 and yeah, I just decided to go for it. So that is everything. I do also have, I thought about including the ebooks and audiobooks that I've purchased lately, but that would be a lot and too many. If you are interested in hearing about ebooks and audiobooks that I have on my TBR, I rarely talk about them, but I am like constantly buying cheap ebooks, and I subscribe to Libro.fm, so I'm always getting audiobooks. If you have any interest in hearing about like an ebook or audiobook haul or both, let me know in the comments. If I've talked about any of your favorite books or ones that you think I'm especially gonna love, please let me know in the comments below. Tell me what I should prioritize, because I'm a Libra and I can't make decisions to save my life, so I never know where to start with things like this. So please let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my next video. But until then, happy reading. Bye.